Next is from Gabriel Constantinescu. The subject is WWE pandering. Oh boy, you know where this one's going. Hello, K100 crew. Gabriel from Romania here. First of all, thank you for reading my last question. Find it interesting, even though you wrongfully suspended me for claiming Io Sky is the best female worker today.
She is.
Recently, WWE has booked Gunther against Mustafa Ali for the IC title at Night of Champions. It's clear the only reason he's being pushed is because the event is in Saudi Arabia. Even though Ali is not Saudi, he's a devout Muslim. What about the new Indian tag team that just debuted, Indus Sheer? Nick Khan just announced a live event in India in September. This can't be coincidence, right? My question is, what do you think of the WWE's tactic of pushing random jobbers who are not over right before an international event because they're ethnic and then abandon them immediately after? Isn't that approach kind of racist? I know us wrestling fans from the third world countries love mainstream stars like Roman, Cena, and Lesnar. Why not just take time to get these guys over first? Thanks. P.S. It was funny to see Konnan act surprised that Io was so over in Puerto Rico. Maybe think why they dropped the ball with her in Mexico.
No.
Let
me explain.
You took a shot at your booking there, Konnan.
Let me explain something to you, Gabriel.
With Io Sky. Right.
Let me explain something to you, Gabriel. When Io Sky came to AAA, she came with her sister. Okay, and she was in the first year of wrestling. She was mega green. There was no way anybody would know if she would be this good. And I will double down on this. She is not the best worker in the world today. And she is very good, but she's not the best worker, and she lacks charisma. And don't tell me she doesn't.
Yeah.
As far as this guy saying, like, the only reason Mustafa's being pushed is because the event's in Saudi Arabia and stuff, that might be true, but you're watching pro wrestling, where it's always been that way. In the early days, WWE had Bruno for the Italians, had Pedro for the Hispanics. Vince Senior.
Yeah, but I think what he's alluding to, Joe, is that Bruno always was pushed. They didn't push him to go to Italy, and then when they came back, but these guys they're pushed. They go to India, and then after they forget about him, is what he's saying, which has happened.
That's what they did with Jinder. They gave Jinder the big shot, allegedly because they were going to have that tour of India or whatever, you know.
Right, and he actually got over, and he actually got over, and then they dropped him.
Tanescu there's nothing wrong with this. Okay, you go to Canada, the Canadian wrestlers are over huge. That doesn't mean just because you're doing a 4-5 loop in Canada where they're going to be over huge doesn't mean you're pushing these. You're giving them the belt to go on the tour. It's like just ethnic wrestlers in the countries of their ethnicity are usually more over than they are, as opposed to being in the American audience. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just like when you go overseas, the foreign wrestlers are going to be more over. That's just common sense. It's not racist.
I think I think
it's absurd.
I think his point. It's borderline racist to use somebody just to get on board in his country, and when you come back, you don't use them again. It's like if all of a sudden they gave a push. You know how they're going to Mexico now? They gave a push to Humberto Garza because they're going to Mexico, and then after they came back to Mexico, they never did anything with him again. That is borderline.
That's not racist.
Yeah, it is.
You're literally giving the guy a brief push. Like burying the guy all the time.
I'm not going to argue with you, bro. You're a white guy, so you would have
It's not racist.
So
it's like
it is
absurd to say that it's racist. You're still like, hey, we're going to India. We got an Indian guy. Let's push him. They're going to be over huge.
Okay, and then when we come back, we never do anything with him again until we go back to India.
Well, I mean, how many times can you give guys opportunities to get over, and they're not getting over, except when they go to play?
Jinder Mahal got over. Jinder Mahal got over.
Yeah, but then sort of. I mean, we thought
he wasn't. He didn't have, bro. He had an incredible heat, and we even said it. We said,
I'm not,
bro.
But you can't sit there and tell me that the rest of the people thought this guy was over. Like he was getting a lot of heat for the rest of the internet wrestling community. But he can't work.
If we would have kept pushing him strong, he would have gotten over.
I'm not
but
saying
they stopped it.
But I don't think it's racist. The guy was kind of green in the ring. I mean, you can't sit there and say the guy had no flaws. That's all I'm saying. I just think the racism tab on this is kind of like it's an easy go-to. It's like, oh, don't you think that's racist? No, it's not racist. It's like, let's dissect this guy's career. He's not really that over. We tried a bunch of things with him. It's not, oh, we're going to India? Well, he's going to be over in India.
He's not that over. He was the most. He had the most heat of any heel. How you can say he's not over? He had excellent. I even said it. I don't like Jinder Mahal, but he's over and he looks great. I think he got on the juice or something. He looked incredible. He was tall. He was big. He could speak English. He had it going on, dude.
and he got a push, and he was a world champion. It's very difficult for you to tell me that it's racist that they stopped his push when they gave him the belt. It's like,
that's
it.
With
But
Zack Ryder.
racist would be people that have just been held down. They've and because of their race. Okay, but
no. He's saying that he's all right. Well, whatever, dude. I'm not. I think it is, but go ahead, Joe. What?
No, I'm just saying with Zack Ryder, they always did something cool for him in Long Island or New York, but the rest of the year he wasn't really on WWE.
Right, they didn't push him. He was over too.
Yeah. Right.
Well, that's way is
that racist?
That's way different than what we're talking about.
How? Yeah. What if he was if he was black, under completely same circumstances? People say, "Oh, that's racist." It's like, well, wait a second. You're going to change the skin color of the guy, and it's one instance is racist and the other isn't, just because of the skin color. If that's, bro, you got to show me racism other than like that. If that's the evidence of the racism, that's you got to show me more than that.
We've been years and years and years on this show talking about it, bro. For you to come at me at that angle, it's like all white guys have had, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not bitter. I don't give a fuck. You've had all the privileges in the judicial system, in the law, in the legislative, and everything. It's always been a white-owned, white-controlled thing. And so anytime anybody brings anything up, is, oh, no, that's not racist. That's not racist. It isn't racist to you because you've never really felt racism. Have you?
No, but I've seen
racism.
I've seen you don't have to be a certain color to see racism where it exists. Perfect example. Next mailbag question about Booker T. Would you say Booker T's career has been mired by racism, or did Booker T get over on his merit? Is Booker T a better performer than Mustafa Ali based on skill level, interviews, and stuff? Would you say over the course of, like, if you had the two of them at these points in career, would you? Okay,
Booker and Mustafa, I would pick Booker.
Okay, sure. because of his talent. It's like some guys are just not as talented, don't have that it factor, and like sometimes it's like,
bro, he's one of the very few guys that at that time got over as an African American, because I can tell you, bro, I talked to a lot of Latinos and blacks, and they used to tell me that back in the day, and of course you're gonna say, oh yeah, where's the proof? Well, they told me that's proof enough for me that promoters would always say, hey, you know, they would consider a black guy or a Latino as a gimmick match, and they only had one per territory.
Well, how long ago is
that? Was before our time, before our time.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
When I first came into the business, I remember the first day I got in there was this referee, I forgot his name, Rocky King was his name. Rocky King, and he had told me that Ric Flair had said some stuff about him that was derogatory, and Michael Hayes had said some stuff about, and I think he either punched Michael Hayes or he got in his face, and he ended up getting fired the same day I got hired, you know? And so, bro, there's always been racial. You can't tell me no.
Here's the next. Well, we could argue that another day. Next is from John.
No, we can't. We could argue that every day, and it's the same. There was a lot of racial before our time. A lot more. There's still some today. It's still subtle. It's still subtle, but there's some still today. Not as much as before. Not even half as much as before. But go ahead.
Here's my final thing on this thing. Mustafa Ali is not that over. They're giving him a push because they're going over India, and he is a Muslim. And he's going to be over in front of a large Muslim crowd. When he comes back, we come back to the States. He's probably not going to get pushed as much, and probably back to square one. But I would just say that racism has nothing to do with that. That's all I would say. I just think it's the fact that they've been pushing this guy and he hadn't got over, and this is a place where he will be over. I'm questioning whether it's racism.
Okay, that's a good point.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good point.